When the fire broke out, both his white moonlight and I were trapped inside and couldn't escape. When my firefighter husband arrived, he decisively chose to rescue his white moonlight instead. After barely escaping with my life, I immediately filed for divorce. He asked in confusion, "Why are you divorcing me? Just because I didn't save you first?" I angrily threw the divorce papers in his face. "You're damn right. It's because you saved your old flame who was further away first." Still lying in the hospital bed, I asked Jet for a divorce. Rubbing his temples wearily, he replied in an irritated tone. "I was up all night dealing with the fire in the North District, and as soon as I lay down, you called me here, just to joke around?" Ignoring his impatience, I coldly pulled out the divorce papers. "I'm not joking. Let's get a divorce. The house was fully paid for by you before marriage, so I won't take it. The car is mine, and I'll drive it away. We'll split the money earned after marriage equally. Any objections to this arrangement?" Seeing I wasn't joking, Jet finally got serious. "Why do you want a divorce with me? Just because I saved Sable first?" Speaking of this, the anger I'd suppressed in my heart finally erupted. Jet is a firefighter. A week ago, I ran into Sable while shopping at the supermarket. At that time, I naively thought she and Jet were just former classmates and current friends, so I stopped to chat with her for a while. Who knew how it happened? The supermarket suddenly caught fire. The flames were fierce. Before we could escape, the surroundings were already engulfed in raging fire. I don't know how long it had been, but when we were lying on the ground barely alive, the fire brigade finally arrived. Coincidentally, the one who came to us was none other than Jet. But Jet didn't even glance at me and immediately picked up Sable. Thinking he hadn't seen me, I desperately grabbed the hem of his pants as he passed by. "Jet, save me." I pleaded with him weakly, my voice barely audible. Yet, without hesitation, he kicked my hand away. "Sable can't hold on much longer. I'll save her first and come back for you later." With that, he anxiously picked up Sable and rushed outside. Through the hazy glow of the flames, I thought I saw Sable flash me a triumphant smirk. In that instant, I remembered Jet's mother once mentioning he had been in a relationship during high school. So Sable was the unforgettable white moonlight he had never gotten over. God knows how shattered I felt at that moment. My husband disregarded my life to save his white moonlight. I nearly thought I would die in that fire. Now that I've luckily survived and escaped the blaze, how dare he dismiss the reason for divorce with such a flippant tone? I could no longer hold back and hurled the glass at him with all my strength. "How could you save your ex-girlfriend first in an emergency instead of me, your wife? Are you even human?" Jet was drenched in tea and was very displeased. Mindful that they were in a hospital, he growled under his breath. "Enough, are you some kind of shrew? You're my wife, so I should have prioritized saving Sable at that moment. What if people said I was being selfish?" Facing his explanation, I let out a bleak laugh. "Jet, don't waste your breath on meaningless excuses. If things were truly as you claim, even if I felt wronged, I wouldn't use such a reason to divorce you. Do you really think I don't know that firefighters follow the proximity principle when faced with either or rescue choices? At that time, I was clearly closer to you. Sable was much farther behind because she ran slower, yet you walked straight toward her without even looking at me. Search your conscience, are you truly telling me there wasn't any personal bias involved?" Having been called out on his hidden motives, Jet froze. It took him a long while before he awkwardly tried to reach for my hand. "Freya, I admit, I wanted to get her out first and then come back for you immediately. She's my friend. How could I just stand by and watch her die?" I coldly shook off his hand and sneered, "How noble of you, ignoring your wife who was closer to you, instead going out of your way to save a friend. Did she give you $1 billion or save your entire family, making you pour your heart and soul out for her? Also, I was hospitalized for 3 days. Did you, as my husband, even visit? Or did you spend all your time comforting your frightened sweetheart?" Jet was left speechless, wanting to defend himself but lost for words. Since things had already come this far, I decided to tear off the entire veil of pretense. If she were your wife and I were just a so-called friend, who would you have saved first? His body stiffened. His gaze became evasive. I closed my eyes. Let's get divorced. I already knew the answer. He still didn't nod, yet he had nothing to say. In the end, he just hurriedly threw out, "I don't agree to divorce," and ran off. See, even he knows he hasn't acted like a decent person, too ashamed to face me. I put away the divorce papers and called my lawyer best friend, Vera, instead. While having her help me prepare the lawsuit, I also asked her to find me an apartment to live in after being discharged from the hospital. Since he refuses to divorce amicably, then I'll proceed with a contested divorce. I can't stand this kind of life for another single day. After being injured and hospitalized, visitors came to see me in waves. There were both classmates and friends, as well as colleagues from the company. But it never crossed my mind that Sable would come too. Unlike the provoking smirk she wore back then, this time she was crying pitifully. "I'm so sorry, Freya. I had no idea Jet would save me first, but I had already inhaled too much smoke and passed out by then. Otherwise, I would never have agreed to let him do that. Sister Freya, don't be angry with Jet. If you want to hit or scold someone, direct it at me." As she spoke, she grabbed my wrist and lightly tapped her own face a few times. I watched coldly as she put on this act. She knew full well that my hand was burned and still bandaged, making it impossible for me to exert any real force. Yet here she was, using that very fact to put on a show. I must have been blind before. How had I never noticed what a massive green tea bitch she was? The hypocrisy was so thick it was practically suffocating. Just like some ridiculous soap opera. The next second, Jet burst into the ward from the doorway. He harshly pushed my hand away and pulled Sable into his arms with a pained look on his face. "Sable, what are you doing? The fire wasn't your fault, and she wasn't injured saving you. Why blame yourself?" Sable leaned against Jet's chest, shaking her head as she cried. But I just can't get over it. I wish it were me who got burned, me lying here, then maybe my heart wouldn't ache so much. Watching this scumbag and his toxic girlfriend spew their melodramatic nonsense right in front of me almost made me vomit. I sarcastically sneered, "You should feel guilty. Who told my husband to go rescue his old flame like you instead of taking care of his current wife? If I spread this around, do you think the two of you wouldn't be drowned in public scorn?" Hearing this, Sable froze for a moment. But she quickly snapped back to reality and immediately tried to ram her head into the wall. Let me die, let me die. It's my fault Freya got burned, I'll pay with my own life." Jet panicked and grabbed her tightly. "Sable, don't be reckless. Freya's just in a bad mood, she didn't mean to blame you." I quickly added fuel to the fire, my voice louder than Sable's whimpering. "Who said it wasn't on purpose? I'm blaming her, and that's exactly what I meant. She knew you were married yet still flirted with you. You knew the person left behind would die, yet you chose your old flame without hesitation. If it weren't for your colleague arriving in time, I probably wouldn't be alive now. What, am I not even allowed to resent the other woman?" Jet could no longer stand hearing his white moonlight being verbally attacked like this. With a loud smack, he slapped me hard across the face. "Don't go too far. Sable is so fragile, what's wrong with saving her first? It's not like you died, is it?" That slap completely severed my feelings for him. Exhausted, I instructed my caretaker, Lena. "Lena, I'll give you $1,000 to kick out this cheating couple." Lena immediately rolled up her sleeves and delivered a resounding slap to each of them. Jet, with his thick skin, barely felt the sting. Sable, however, was a different story. Her meticulously styled hair was disheveled, half of her face swollen and red, and she let out a piercing screech. I nodded in satisfaction. "Well done, Lena. I'll give you another 1,000 as a bonus." Lena became even more enthusiastic. Despite being a middle-aged woman, she managed to chase the two young men out of the ward, beating them until they fled in panic. After being discharged from the hospital, Vera, still concerned, accompanied me back home to help pack my belongings. I forced a brave smile and said, "I'm sorry for taking up your busy schedule to accompany me like this." She gently tapped my forehead. "If you're not happy, don't force a smile. Do you still need to wear a mask in front of me?" One sentence shattered the high walls I had built around myself. I threw myself into her arms and burst into loud sobs, finally releasing all the grievances I had endured during those days. Holding me, Vera said through gritted teeth, "Don't cry. Your happiness will be the greatest revenge against that scumbag." After hearing her curse a few more times, I gradually stopped crying. Wiping away my tears, we returned home. The moment we saw inside the door, Vera was so furious she nearly jumped in anger. "You're not even divorced yet, can't you wait a little longer?" The sofa and rug were strewn with women's clothing of various colors. A risque lingerie even hung from the cradle on the balcony. The trash bin was filled to the brim with crumpled tissues. No need to think to know that Jet brought Sable back to fool around. Even though I've already given up on Jet, seeing this still makes me unbearably sad. This is my home too. The thought of our home, filled with memories of us as a couple, being invaded by Sable makes my heart ache as if cut by a knife. I clenched my fists tightly and entered the bedroom. Just as I had expected. The bedroom was also in complete disarray, as if it had been ransacked by bandits. My clothes had been cut to pieces. The cosmetics on the dressing table were almost all gone. Only a few pieces of jewelry remained from what I had stored in the walk-in closet. Especially the couple's rings Jet had given me before our marriage. Both rings had been ground down to the point where the engravings were distorted. Now, those 2 rings lay pitifully in the trash, reduced to mere garbage. Vera cursed angrily and tried to retrieve them, but I stopped her. "No need, what's ruined is ruined. What's done cannot be undone, and a broken mirror can hardly be made whole again. Even if the ring were picked up and cleaned, it wouldn't regain its original form. Jet and I met through a blind date. Perhaps it was his handsome looks, or perhaps the occupational halo of being a firefighter. Either way, I fell in love at first sight. Later, I happened to witness the scene of him rushing into a fire to save lives. At that moment, he was covered in grime and dust from head to toe. But I felt that his back was bathed in radiant light, and the whole world was so quiet that I could only hear my own rapid heartbeat. I fell completely in love with him. Even though Jet was quite cold toward me, I persistently pursued him. Eventually, he was moved by me and agreed to be in a relationship. Looking back now, perhaps he wasn't moved by my devotion, he just couldn't outlast my relentless persistence. After we started dating, I met his parents. At his home, I learned about his past. Jet had a very close female classmate in high school. That classmate was Sable. They had agreed to attend the same university and get married after graduation. But after the college entrance exams, Sable was sent abroad to study. At first, she and Jet chatted online every day. Over time, Sable and Jet communicated less and less frequently. Eventually, she even began avoiding Jet's calls and stopped replying to his messages. After dragging on for several months, Sable sent Jet a breakup text. Without even giving Jet a chance to win her back, she blocked all his contact information. Jet fell into depression for several months as a result. After that, he never dated again and later joined the military. It wasn't until after his discharge, when he became a firefighter and his parents urged him to go on blind dates, that he finally agreed to be with me. Of course I knew that a man who had a white moonlight in his heart was hard to hold on to. But I just refused to believe in superstitions. And I also thought, since he's so devoted, wouldn't it mean I wouldn't have to worry about mistresses if he became my husband? Looking back now, my mistake was utterly glaring. No need to worry about mistresses anymore. But when the white moonlight appears, who can possibly compete? Even with the status of a legal wife, I still suffered a crushing defeat. Sniffling, I abandoned the idea of packing my belongings. Vera, help me document all the damaged items. I'll make Sable repay them one by one, or else I'll file a police report. As for the other things, taking them would only make me feel worse. I might as well leave them behind, consider them, along with my youth, all fed to the dogs. Just as we were about to leave, Jet returned with Sable. The four of us had an unexpected confrontation in the entryway. Jet instinctively asked, "Why are you here?" Sable leaned weakly against Jet's chest, her tone a mix of apology and provocation. "Sister Freya, I didn't know you were coming. Had I known, I wouldn't have dragged Jet out to play with me." Her self-righteous provocation was meant to make me lose my temper. Between me and a fit of rage and her, delicate and wronged, it was obvious who Jet would favor more. Did it hurt? Of course it did. After all, Jet and I had been married for 3 years. Even raising a dog for 3 years would foster some affection, let alone a spouse. But it's not that unbearable, really. Pain fades with the passage of time. Back during my hospital stay, I couldn't sleep night after night, my hair fell out in clumps, and I shed countless tears. By now, I've grown so numb that I don't even feel the pain anymore. Vera couldn't hold back and snapped, "You're the same age as Jet and 5 years older than Freya, yet you keep calling her Freya. How pathetic of an old T-act trying to play young. Lady, your T-act is way past its expiration date." Sable, meeting Vera for the first time, was instantly dumbstruck by the scathing remarks. After a long pause, her tears began streaming uncontrollably. "How could you bully someone like this, miss?" Jet glared at Vera angrily, "Don't go too far, know when to stop." Vera sneered, "You cheated during marriage and still say I'm going too far? Do you think my lawyer works for nothing? Believe it or not, I'll sue you until you don't even have a pair of pants left to wear." Jet was left speechless, his face ashen. His eyes were full of confusion and embarrassment. Sable could tell she wasn't to be trifled with and didn't dare even breathe loudly. I casually placed the list Vera had prepared into Jet's hands. "These are all the things your Sable damaged. They weren't new, so I gave you a discount. Pay up now." Before Jet could react, Sable glanced at the list and exploded. "Your things are Jet's anyway. So what if they're broken? How dare you ask us for compensation?" I said coldly, "You had the nerve to be the other woman, so why wouldn't I have the nerve to ask for compensation?" Sable was about to lash out but quickly calmed down. Her furious expression vanished, replaced by a look of forced submission. "Fine, I'll compensate you. Just stop arguing with Jet, I'll do whatever it takes." Afraid that delays might bring trouble, I took out my phone immediately. "Bank transfer or cash, take your pick." Sable's eyes were practically spewing flames. Yet she still managed to restrain herself and took out her phone. With such self-control, I couldn't complain about losing to her. As she expected, before she could transfer the money, Jet took out his phone and sent me the funds first. "I'll pay for it, just don't cause any more trouble for Sable from now on." I winked at Vera. She immediately took the hint and pulled out a divorce agreement. "Sign it. Once you do, your little white flower can officially take my place." Holding the divorce agreement, Jet froze for several minutes before finally asking in disbelief, "You're really divorcing me? Are you serious?" I sneered and said, "Any woman who sees her husband fooling around with another woman at home would ask for a divorce." Jet's face stiffened, lost in thought, but he refused to relent. "I don't agree. I won't divorce. Freya, don't overthink it. It's not what you imagine between us. Don't get the wrong idea. I wonder if it's a common flaw among men. So many men, when caught cheating by their wives, love to say this. The truth is already out in the open, what's the point of still trying to cover it up? He could finally be with the woman he's loved for years just by signing the papers, so why is he still holding me back?" I didn't want to argue with him anymore. With a weary expression, I said, "We both know the truth. Just sign it. It's better for both of us." Jet tore the divorce agreement to pieces. "I won't agree to a divorce." My gaze involuntarily drifted toward Sable. "I gave you the perfect opportunity, and you're still not taking it?" Sable didn't disappoint me. She suddenly clutched her stomach and crouched down. Jet. Jet. My stomach hurts so bad. Help me, it really hurts. Her acting is really quite impressive. Not only did the color drain from her face, but she even broke out in a cold sweat. Hold on, Sable. I'm taking you to the hospital right now. Jet picked her up and ran. I stood still on the spot, as if drenched from head to toe by a bucket of ice-cold water, my entire body frozen. Their figures grew farther and farther away. Just like our lives, drifting apart, never to intersect again. Jet ultimately agreed to the divorce. Because Sable was pregnant. He had to take responsibility for his first love and the child, so he had to divorce me to give them a complete family. Jet wore a bitter expression. Freya, this is just a temporary arrangement. Once the child is born and has a proper status, I'll find a way to divorce Sable and marry you. Just wait for me, okay? Even though I've already given up on Jet, I couldn't help but feel a chill in my heart at this moment, for myself, and for Sable. I was heartbroken for him, and Sable was locked in a covert battle with me over him. Yet, in the end, in his eyes, we were both just disposable playthings. Who does he think he is? And who does he think we are? Why should we two women be treated like mindless objects for him to pick and choose between? I suppressed the urge to retch and took out the newly drafted divorce agreement. You cheated during our marriage, so I'm taking 2/3 of the marital assets. Any objections? Jet anxiously grabbed my hand. Freya, you understand my predicament, don't you? It's just a temporary measure. After all, it's my child. You love me so much, you wouldn't want my child to be born as an illegitimate bastard, would you? I yanked my hand away and threw my coffee in his face. Then, ignoring the fact that we were in a public place, I vomited violently. It was disgusting. Absolutely revolting. I never imagined that beneath this dignified exterior lay such repulsive and disgusting filth. Only today have I truly seen his real face. After vomiting, I said furiously, "Cut the crap and sign the documents already." Jet wiped his face, exuding an air of helplessness. Freya, I know you hate me, but the child is innocent. You wouldn't want an innocent life to be born without a father, would you? I never thought about divorcing you, but now that the child is coming, even a vicious tiger wouldn't harm its own cub. Are you suggesting I make Sable abort him? I'm utterly disgusted. It's clearly all his fault. Clearly, he was the one fooling around with Sable during our marriage. Clearly, he was the one who chose his former white moonlight over me between Sable and myself. Clearly, I've already stepped back. So why does he always have to be so indecisive? Because he loves me? Obviously not. If he loved me, he wouldn't have played around with Sable during our marriage. Because he just wanted to fulfill the regrets of his youth, but ended up having a child by accident? So he had no choice but to marry Sable to take responsibility, while still unable to let go of me. No matter which possibility it is, I can't accept any of it. I just find him utterly repulsive. I closed my eyes, leaning back wearily in the chair, and said, Jet, we've been married for 3 years. You should know my temperament, I can't tolerate betrayal. The moment you lost control of your heart and desires, it was already over between us. Since you've chosen Sable, live a good life with her, be a good husband, and a good father. Just sign the papers and let's part amicably, don't make me look down on you. Upon hearing this, Jet clutched his head in agony, murmuring to himself, I don't want a divorce, I don't want a divorce. After my repeated urging, he finally signed the divorce papers and left with a broken heart. Vera didn't help me find a place to live, instead letting me stay at her place because she was worried I might do something drastic. Understanding her concern, I went along with her arrangement. After this incident, there was a subtle shift in my mindset. I suddenly felt this urge to go out and see the world. So I quit my job and focused wholeheartedly on my side gig. My parents, including Jet, they only knew that I had decent cooking skills. What they didn't know was that I was a somewhat well-known food blogger online. Vera was the only exception. After resigning, I spent every day holed up at home, experimenting with all kinds of delicious dishes. From snacks to full-course meals, I kept Vera's mouth happily stuffed. Within just half a month, she had gained 5 pounds. After each meal, she would bang her head against the sofa in agony. "No more eating, no more. If I keep this up, I'll turn into a ball. When I stand in court, everyone will just stare at my expanding figure instead of focusing on my sharp eloquence." That's what she said, but every time I whipped up something delicious, she'd shamelessly come sniffing around. "So fragrant. This little lab rat is here to taste test again." Thanks to this lively troublemaker, my gloomy mood lifted quite a bit. Every day, my mind was completely occupied with brainstorming new culinary creations. Only, Vera had a few sips of white wine and, after getting drunk, slurred her words while telling me something that left me utterly annoyed again. She said, "Freya, didn't you change your phone number? You wouldn't believe it, he's been messaging me every single day, and it makes me want to punch him. Stuff like, 'It's cold today, remind Freya to wear more clothes,' or 'It's going to rain, tell her to bring an umbrella.' Ugh, does he think he's some heartbroken romantic, disgusting everyone like this?" I blocked him, but he just got a new number and started messaging me again. It's so infuriating. If it weren't for all my clients contacting me, I'd seriously consider changing my number. I was so angry I almost threw the tableware. That bastard, how shameless can he be? I took a few deep breaths and asked, "Vera, do you still have the messages Jet sent you? Can I see them?" Vera drunkenly handed me her phone. "Look, they're all still here. I'm a lawyer, you know. If you want to sue him for harassment, these are the evidence, he. I skimmed through the messages. Sure enough, there were many unfamiliar texts, all mentioning me without exception. I took screenshots one by one and sent them to my own phone. To stop Jet's idiotic behavior, talking to him would be pointless. He's currently drowning in self-gratification over his undying love for me, and approaching him would only add fuel to the fire. I added Sable as a friend. First, I opened her posts. Her feed was either flaunting Jet or boasting about how much he loved her. For example, today she got a brand new designer bag from him. Or how Jet, seeing her struggle with her pregnancy, took her strawberry picking in the countryside. In short, every post reeked of romantic displays. The ridiculous part? While Jet was all over her like glue, he kept sending me messages to craft his image as the devoted lover. I can't help but wonder if, while putting on a show of deep affection for me, he was also secretly scheming with Sable behind my back. Ugh, just the thought of it makes me sick. To ease my mind a little, I sent all the screenshots to Sable in one go, just to disgust her as well. Can you keep your man in check? He keeps messaging me all the time and it's driving me crazy. What, is your charm not enough to satisfy him? Sable responded quickly, sending a flurry of messages back. Are you Freya? Why are you so persistent? Can you stop bothering my husband? Do you want to be the homewrecker that everyone despises? Don't you believe I'll expose you online? Wow, this rhetoric really opened my eyes. Fuming, I responded, go ahead and cyberbully if you dare, stop barking like a dog. Useless thing who can't even control her man, get lost. After scolding her, I felt refreshed and blocked her. It seems my move worked perfectly. From then on, Jet never bothered Vera again. Our world finally regained its peace. Meanwhile, I had completed all my preparations. I wanted to travel abroad for a change. Upon hearing this, Vera couldn't control herself and hugged me while crying uncontrollably. Is it because of that bastard Jet bothering you that you want to go abroad to avoid the trouble? Don't be afraid, tell me. I'll go find my mentor, my senior brothers and sisters, and form a legal team to sue him for you. I couldn't help but laugh and cry while comforting her. It has nothing to do with him. I just feel that to be a good food blogger, focusing only on the local cuisine isn't enough. I want to go out and see more customs and cultures, enrich my life experiences, and create even more mouth-watering dishes. Who knows, maybe I'll come back as a 5-star chef. Only when I said this did Vera finally give up trying to persuade me to stay. Alright then, since it's your own choice, of course I won't stand in the way of you chasing your dreams. But you have to be careful. It's not as safe abroad as it is back home. You must check in with me every day, or I'll call the police to find you. I agreed to everything. The day after saying goodbye to Vera, I set off on my journey. Traveling alone wasn't as dull as I had imagined. On the contrary, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. When I find a place I like, I'll linger a little longer. When I come across food I enjoy, I'll savor it a few more times, and if it can be preserved, I'll even pack some to send back home so Vera can taste it too. When I encounter a scenic view I adore, I'll take out my camera to capture it. When I discover a famous landmark I like, I'll explore it further, listening to its stories and jotting them down. After doing this repeatedly, I didn't come up with any new culinary innovations, but I did upload quite a few travel photos from my journeys onto the internet. So, everyone jokingly calls me a food blogger who abandoned her craft to become a travel blogger instead. I found it quite interesting, so I posted a giveaway on my account. 10 random participants who reposted would receive a pack of my homemade Tarunya gingerbread. It wasn't anything valuable, but quite a few people joined the giveaway. I had already prepared a large pack of Tarunya gingerbread for Vera, yet she enthusiastically participated in the draw anyway. Of course, she ended up not winning. To soothe her fragile heart, I spent a long time consoling her over the phone. After Vera pridefully made a bunch of demands, she finally huffed, "Fine, I'll forgive you this time." So, do you know how Jet's been lately? Hearing that name again after several months left me in a daze. It wasn't sadness, more like a sense of lifetimes passing. I said, I haven't been in touch with him since I changed my number. Vera said with schadenfreude, "After you warned Sable, Jet stopped messaging me altogether. But a few days ago, I don't know what got into Jet, he came to the law firm looking for me, asking where you were." Seeing his shady intentions, I played dumb and didn't tell him anything. He just stubbornly stayed at the firm, refusing to leave. Later, Sable came looking for him, heavily pregnant, and the two of them had a huge argument right in front of all of us. One accused the other of being hung up on his ex-wife, while the other called her paranoid and delusional. It was a complete mess. These two are seriously messed up. One cheated during the marriage, finally got together with his so-called white moonlight, yet keeps coming back to bother you, while the other is paranoid, constantly fearing you'll steal Jet back. With the way they're behaving, there's no way their relationship will last. I shook my head with a wry smile. Jet is just greedy, always wanting what he can't have. In the end, the only person he really loves is himself. As for Sable, she's just projecting. Since she became the other woman, she assumes all women would stoop to her level and do the same. Don't bother with them. If they cause trouble again, don't hesitate, just call the police. After chatting for a bit, our conversation shifted to other topics. I thought that would be the end of any connection between me and that scumbag couple. Who would have guessed that a month later, Vera called me again, saying, "Jet got burned in a fire, and he keeps screaming about wanting to see you. That bastard can drop dead for all I care. I didn't want to bother you, but his colleagues kept coming to me one after another, begging you to visit him. I had no choice, that's why I let out a wow. Karma's come for the scumbag." I said with a smile, "No worries. I've been out having fun for so long, it's about time I went back anyway." Perfect timing to check if his face got messed up. Before I returned, Vera kept texting me updates about Jet and Sable's recent situations. Sable gave birth. I found it strange. Counting carefully, it's only been 7 months since she returned and latched onto Jet. Did she go into premature labor because of Jet's accident? Vera said disdainfully, "What nonsense about premature birth. That bitch gave birth at full term." Full term? I was stunned. Doesn't that mean Jet became the backup plan? Vera's laughter came through the phone. No need for a paternity test, everyone knows that child isn't Jet's. Sable, well, she gave birth to a foreigner's genes. I held back and held back, but in the end, I couldn't help but laugh. Abandoning his first wife to reunite with his white moonlight, only to become another man's child's father. Oh my God, this is the funniest joke I've heard all year. I can't wait to see the expression on Jet's face right now. Then, Vera went on to talk about what happened next. After the child was born, Jet's face turned as green as his hair. Before Sable was even discharged from the hospital, he filed for divorce. Normally, they wouldn't be able to get divorced while the wife was still breastfeeding. But since the child was clearly not his, the court accepted the divorce case. The divorce won't be finalized anytime soon, though. Jet couldn't accept the fact that he had become the fall guy, so he avoided going home and stayed outside all day. Sable had no job and certainly couldn't afford to raise a child on her own money. So she adamantly refused to divorce and persistently chased after Jet wherever he went. She even fabricated ridiculous lies, like claiming to have foreign ancestry. And so, they went on, one chasing, the other hiding. The stress of this situation left Jet so troubled he couldn't even sleep peacefully. During a fire rescue mission, his exhaustion led to him being accidentally struck by a heavy object. I narrowly escaped with my life, but suffered severe burns on my back and a crushed fracture in one lower leg. Considering the circumstances, it was a blessing in disguise. I felt a twinge of melancholy. In this situation, I couldn't bring myself to kick him while he was down. But who could deny that this was poetic justice? If he hadn't been unable to keep his zipper up and insisted on secretly hooking up with Sable, he wouldn't have driven her to this point, let alone faced this calamity. When all is said and done, he reaped what he sowed. After getting off the plane, I first went home, popped open champagne with Vera and feasted, before finally visiting him at the hospital the next day. Before I could even step into the hospital entrance, a disheveled woman charged at me. "You shameless woman, here to seduce my husband again? Have you no dignity?" Fortunately, a firefighter colleague of Jet's was with me and shielded me from her sudden attack. "Sable, when will you stop this nonsense? You're the one who interfered in Jet and Freya's marriage. Who are you trying to fool with your thief-crying thief act?" So this was Sable. I took a closer look at her and shook my head with a sigh. How pitiful you've become in such a short time, reduced to this wretched, abandoned state. Pathetic, really. My words were not at all exaggerated. Probably due to postpartum recovery and marital troubles, Sable looked utterly disheveled at this moment. She reeked of milk and sour sweat. Where was the refined appearance I had seen when we first met? But I didn't feel the slightest bit of sympathy for her. This was her punishment for being a homewrecker. Hit where it hurts, Sable lunged at me again in a rage. "It's all your fault. Why don't you just die? You had to make Jet unable to forget you. You're nothing but a slut. A vixen." Before she could finish cursing, I slapped her across the face. "This slap is to teach you not to distort the truth." With that, I slapped her again. "This one's for meddling in my marriage." After the satisfying slap, I turned my gaze slowly to my firefighter colleague. He promptly played along and turned away. "Oh, I'm on a call right now, didn't see a thing." Sable clutched her red, swollen cheek, weeping and laughing hysterically. "There's no smoke without fire. If he hadn't been willing, how could I have seduced him? It all comes down to his weakness. If it weren't me, it would have been someone else." Nothing wrong with that statement. If Jet had been firm enough, no matter how formidable Sable was, she couldn't have forced him. In the end, it was because Jet couldn't resist temptation. Sable declared fiercely, "Don't get too cocky. If I had the ability to snatch him back, I have the means to keep him. I won't let you take advantage of the situation." I waved my hand dismissively, feeling utterly uninterested. "Keep him if you want. You may treasure him, but in my eyes, he's nothing more than filthy trash. I have no feelings left for him." Jet, his body wrapped in bandages, lay quietly on the bed, gazing at the scenery outside the window. Only when he saw me did ripples of emotion appear in his otherwise calm eyes. "Freya, you came." I interrupted his excited words and nodded calmly. "You're injured, so don't move around." Jet's face was filled with delight. You still care about me. I knew it, I knew I still had a place in your heart. Freya, I know I was wrong. Can you forgive me this once? I promise, from now on, I'll be devoted only to you, with no one else in my heart or eyes. I corrected him coolly, don't flatter yourself. Just now, it was nothing more than the concern any ordinary person would show for an injured firefighter. If it weren't for the fact that you were injured on duty, and if your colleagues hadn't kept coming to Vera's door, I wouldn't have bothered with you at all. Jet froze, murmuring, you won't forgive me? For you, I'd do anything. I teased, then how about I go out and have a child with someone else, and you can play the stepfather again? Jet's face turned green then purple, unable to speak. I scoffed, see? You're just saying all this to win me back. Because Sable deceived you, that's why you suddenly remembered how good your ex-wife was. Have you forgotten how you treated me and how you treated Sable when we were still married? Jet frantically tried to get up and grab me, but I didn't give him the chance, having already prepared by stepping back several steps. He withdrew his hand in disappointment, choking back sobs as he said, Freya, is there no chance for us anymore? I replied, I don't like dirty things, whether they're objects or people. He lowered his eyes and fell silent. After resolving this matter, I set off on my journey again. They say that if the romance line is rough, the career path will surely go smoothly. And indeed, this proved true. I created many new culinary wonders, and my followers soon surpassed the 1 million mark. Advertisements came one after another, and the fees were substantial. My career flourished, and I was so happily absorbed in my travels that I nearly forgot home. If it weren't for Vera occasionally sending me updates from back home, I would have completely forgotten about Jet and Sable. I heard they've officially gotten divorced. To shake off Sable, who clung to him like a stubborn plaster, Jet even gave her the house his parents had fully paid for. Sable knew she couldn't win back this fallback guy anymore, and realizing she had gotten a huge bargain, she stopped pestering Jet. But Sable, accustomed to a life of ease and averse to hard work, actually became a wealthy old man's mistress, all for the money. A few months later, she was discovered by the man's wife and was beaten so severely that she's still bedridden to this day. And that's not all, the wife is also suing her, demanding she return all the money the old man gave her. As luck would have it, the wife hired Vera as her lawyer. After sharing a few laughs with Vera, relishing in the schadenfreude, I hung up the phone. The weather is so nice today. Time to buy a bottle of champagne to celebrate this fine day.